Okay, the aftermath of ANZAC Round in the NRL with the sin bin high tackle crackdown. It's created a lot of debate, it's been highly controversial. Here's my thoughts on the whole Round 8 sin bin fiascos. It is. What we've seen with the play the ball crackdown, it's made very clear very early on by the NRL. In pre-season, this was an area of the game they were going to tidy up, and they've been very consistent. And I'm glad they've been consistent. They've tidied up that area of the game. They're still pinging players. They should have done that with this high tackle and high shot, high contact crackdown. They should have also, in pre-season, said this is another area we want to tidy up. We will penalise, and if severe enough, we will sin bin players and suspend them. And I think that would have tidied up this area of the game. I think fans would have understood, okay, we need to protect the players. I think the players would have understood, actually we don't want to get concussed. And I think coaches would have gone, right, we need to sort out our tackle technique and work on it. We have a pre-season to really work on this. A good 6, 7, 8 weeks to really drill this in, that we need to get this out of the game. What unfortunately has happened this season is we've actually technically had 2 crackdowns. So in round 5, there were a lot of bad miscalls. And the NRL was on the back foot, highly embarrassed. So in round 6, there was sort of a mini crackdown. Some referees and touch judges and bunker officials were dropped for round 6, and they pinged a few players and sin binned a few players for high shots. And it was a little bit haphazard. Now, in round 7, not a lot of sin bins for high shots. There were a few, but they were really egregious, and those players deserved to spend 10 minutes in the bin for foul play. ANZAC Round. Really big round for the NRL. They put a lot of effort into ANZAC Round. It's one of their most important weekends of the season. For what it means for Australia and New Zealand, on a symbolic level, it's one of the rounds they sell out really, really well. Big attendances, a lot of fans in attendance, a lot of people watching on TV, both at home and, in my case, over here in the UK, online on the NRL website. I watched every single game this weekend. And I was bemused by some of the soft decisions, because some of these players most of the players who were contacted in the head with medium to strong force did not go for an HIA. If that is classed as worth 10 minutes in the bin and being put on report, then the player who's been contacted in the head should go for an HIA, in my personal opinion. And most of them stayed on the field. Most players who were contacted in the head over round 8 did not go for an HIA. Let that sink in. Now, what one referee might consider moderate force, another referee might consider light force, and another referee might consider really forceful, strong force. So there's going to be inconsistency here. Now, as I said, with the play the ball crackdown, the high shot crackdown should have been instituted in pre-season onwards, not midway through the season as a reaction to basically some refereeing blunders. And they're going to happen. Referees are human. Okay, touch judges are human. They're going to make the odd blunder. They should not have done this mid-season. In my personal, they should not have done it mid-season, because they've implemented it in a haphazard way, and we're now having officiating by replay. What we need to see is actually these replays in actual live time, as in real speed, live speed, because slowing it down frame by frame, it's going to make the contact look worse than it actually is. And like Sorensen's case, for example, I don't know what he's really meant to do there apart from brace for contact, because if he goes lower with Nathan Brown charging at him off the back fence with 2 teammates either side to do a 3-man tackle, not only could he knock himself out because he's going to be squeezed, he could dislocate his shoulder or break his arm or neck. And I'm not joking there. He would be in worse trouble he's got to brace himself. That's not even a true shoulder charge. That's just him standing his ground, bracing himself. A shoulder charge is when you're coming in at pace and you are just running into the player and you put your shoulder in. He's bracing himself. That is not a true shoulder charge, which is what he's been sent to the bin for. There's not even head contact there, really. Nathan Brown does not go for an HIA. He stays on the field and has a contributing factor to the Sea Eagles winning the game, because that's a momentum shift. Later on in that game, that same match, I forget the Sea Eagles player, but there is another reported shoulder charge which does not result in a sin bin, which was of similar force to the Sorensen one, in my opinion. Maybe even lighter force, but it does not result in a sin bin, yet it is still classed as a no arms tackle, which is, by definition, a shoulder charge. And if anything, the Sea Eagles player really does not brace himself but moves into the tackle. So it's more of a traditional shoulder charge, if not the most physical. It's not like Adrian Morley wiping you out after about 5 seconds of a test match kind of contact. I remember that. Now, that's what I mean by there's inconsistency, not only from game to game, because each referee and each line and each touch judge and each bunker official is different, but also in-game. So already there's that inconsistency, and we are officiating by replay, which disrupts the flow of the game anyway. And then, in some instances, they're going back to the previous set of play, like 8 or 9 play the balls ago. The possession has changed hands, and they're putting a player on report and sin binning them. A good minute, 2 minutes, sometimes even 3 minutes, retrospectively, after the incident has been missed in real time, yet the bunker has had all this time to see it and has not brought it up at an earlier opportunity to then inform the on-field official, we've missed one. It may be not a clear and obvious miss, but they've missed one. Not only that, they're also overturning the on-field officials' decisions, which means the on-field officials are either deciding not to make a decision and just relying on the bunker, or have we now got the pace of the game too fast? We're actually now, the game is too fast because of the 6 again rule, for example, and also trying to clean up the wrestle. The pace of the game may have got too quick. Do we have to bring back in the second referee, for example? So we have 2 refs on the field, because we did have the 2-ref system for many, many years, until 2020 when COVID hit and they dropped it to 1 ref. Is it time to reinstitute the 2-ref system? That was the reason why it was brought in the first place, was to mitigate and eliminate some of these missed calls. So there is that. Now, as I say, it is similar to the Magic Round Crackdown fiasco, where, again, high contact was heavily penalised and a lot of players were put on report and put in the sin bin. Now, that generated a lot of negative press, and it more pissed off the fans. And I was one of those fans that was left bewildered by the amount of players going to the bin. Now, what we're seeing now is we are now seeing players over-exaggerate the contact. So, Ronaldo Militalo, God, that was a what I would class as a Cristiano Ronaldo or a Neymar attempt. I call it football. Australians will call it soccer, at simulation, faking it. That is what you would see at a FIFA World Cup. That was embarrassing by Militalo. I know Militalo's a little bit, I wouldn't say a grub, but he's a bit of an irritant and he does get under the opposition's skin. He's a passionate player, but that was embarrassing. We are going to see players milking and feigning worse contact than there's actually been. Is Militalo caught in the face? Okay, yes. It's a stray hand. It's not, I don't think the opposition player is deliberately going to try and slap him in the face. He's trying to slap the ball out of his hands or disrupt his ball carrier as he's trying to carry the ball out of the in-goal area to force a knock-on. That's what the opposition player is trying to do. He's trying to dislodge the ball. He accidentally catches him on the nose, and it is the slightest of contact. And it's embarrassing. As I say, most of these contacts did not result in players going into the sheds for an HIA. If it is deemed a reportable and sin-binnable offence, in my opinion, then the player who has been contacted in the head should go for an HIA assessment. Because if the ultimate goal is to make sure the players are fit enough to continue and are not suffering the effects of concussion or another head injury, because a severe blow to the head may not concuss you, but it could break your jaw, as we saw with Nick Meaney with the accidental head clash with Nelson Solomona. Broke his cheekbone, right, and his upper jaw a few weeks back. He did not return to play. Then that was an accidental clash of heads, right? So while he passed his HIA, they found, whilst doing the HIA and making sure, he had actually broken bones. So, in my opinion, when a lot of these players aren't going for HIAs and are able to continue, that says to me that is not strong force. And some of these are the slightest of touches. Yes, there is contact with the head, with the shoulder as the primary point of contact. This is not players bouncing off the ball and slipping up. This is players just either getting the timing a little bit wrong, or the player coming into contact is slipped, maybe because there was some matches that were played in the rain, and so footing was a bit difficult. And you can see that there's no malicious intent from the defensive player to deliberately target the head. Now, in the Bulldogs-Broncos clash, yes, Tupanua, I think, yes, there was a bit of Tupanua two knees to the head of an opposition player trying to tackle him, and that you could see was potentially a deliberate targeting of the head. When the opposition player, the defensive player, is being bashed in the head with two knees because he raises his leg, yeah, he got away with that. He was not sin-binned for that. He was sin-binned for a separate high shot later on. So even then, when you can see that there's deliberate intent to injure a player, the bunker misses it. So again, that officiating, it's all over the place, and that's damaging the trust in the match officials. At the end of the day, from what I've seen online, from the reaction of fans, is they have lost faith in the match officials, and the trust is gone. Because if they are missing so many headshots in the game, and then the bunkers coming in and overruling them on a lot of decisions, what really gets me is the Pappenhausen one, which is not a headshot. So they challenged the on-field decision, and it would, I think, just been a play the ball or just a standard penalty. Ryan Pappenhausen challenges it and ends up going in the bin. And I think the decision was in Pappenhausen's favour for like a knock-on or an offside. He challenges it, but because he's interfered with the attacking player who's kicked the ball and taken him out, he ends up going for 10. Yet, when that play goes through, it's just given as a penalty to Melbourne. I think for offside or something silly like that. Or it's given a penalty to the Rabbitohs. And the bunker at that time backs up the on-field official until Ryan Pappenhausen challenges it. Then the bunker contradicts themselves because they would have double-checked the decision and had communication with the on-field official, because I believe a try might have been scored. So it was in the act of scoring. The bunker's seen all the footage and has cleared it. And then, when Ryan Pappenhausen challenges the on-field call, the bunker then goes, that's a professional foul. So even the bunker is contradicted themselves, which is then where there's an inconsistency and there's confusion, and the trust in the match officials is gone. So, as I say, if they were going to, what they should have done, the NRL, not if they were, they should have done, was in pre-season, when the team's coming back into camp and they're doing their pre-season training, that's when they should have announced, we're going to crack down on head contact in the tackle area. We need improved tackle technique. And I think all fans could have agreed, okay, we're going to expect some sin bins, but we're going to expect players just to maybe just drop their height by, even if it's only a few inches, maybe like 3-4 inches. That could be enough to avoid a headshot. Very similar, as I say, to the play the ball crackdown, where there has been consistency. And we've seen a change in player behaviour. That area of the game has cleared up. But because the NRL has been reactionary to some bad missed calls earlier in the season, they've made a rod for their own back. And now Andrew Abdo has come out and basically said, yeah, we've got this wrong. We could have dealt with it in a better or different way. And at least he's been brave enough to front the media and say, yeah, we screwed this up. What happens in Magic Round? Do we have another Magic Round sin bin fiasco, or do they wind it back a bit? Talk to the match officials and the bunker officials, and also talk to the coaches and players. They need to have dialogue, and I think that's another area where the NRL's got this wrong, is that lack of dialogue as well. But I don't want to rant and rave, but I do think that they've been inconsistent. They've muddled it. The referees are now relying on the bunker. So they're not making decisions in play. They're going to let the bunker just sort it out. Maybe they've been told to do that. Maybe they've been told, just if you miss it, just carry on until the bunker draws your attention to it. But then the bunker and then the on-field officials are contradicting each other and themselves. There's inconsistency from game to game and in-game. I use the Sorensen shoulder charge as an example, because there was a Sea Eagles player later on in that same match who just got a penalty and no further disciplinary action. I think he might have been put on report. He might not have been. Sorensen spent 10 minutes in the bin and is facing a couple of weeks out. And if Sorensen's is classed as a true shoulder charge, then I don't know what the Sea Eagles player is classed as. Although the contact isn't severe, you can see there actually is an attempt to move towards the Panthers player where Sorensen is bracing himself for contact. He's got into the defensive line, he's rushed up, stopped, braced himself, turned his body, realised, I'm going to get hurt here. The best I can do is shoulder-to-shoulder contact, bit of a bump, but in that regard, we both get away with less severe injury if we are going to get injured. Nathan Brown continues on. Sorensen obviously takes 10 in the bin, but carries on in the game. Nathan Brown does not go for an HIA. So there's the inconsistency in game. And we are getting missed calls. We have had missed calls, and I think what I worry about is sides having to then go to the New South Wales and Queensland Cup teams, calling up players who aren't quite ready for the NRL, and that then therefore impacting the quality of play we see in Magic Round and later rounds if they carry on with this crackdown as a result. So there we go. There's my thoughts on it. Place your thoughts on the, I'm going to call it shambolic crackdown. I think it's been badly implemented and badly timed, and I'll have place those comments in the comment section below. I'll have some more content for you all very, very soon.